What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/ChoosingBeggars. Alrighty, guys, this story is about our favorite choosing beggar, and he returns for another story. Another Bob story, the fence. Bob and I share a privacy fence, and 2 years ago we had a windstorm blow it down. Typically, there are no rules for who is responsible for repair, but since I had originally paid for the fence, it was mine and I did not mind repairing it. Well, until Bob got involved. I decided to replace the whole thing. It was old and dark brown, it did not have a lot of life left in it anyways. But before I can get started, Bob is at my house wanting to know when we are gonna fix his fence. I politely remind him the fence belongs to me and that I will fix it when I get around to it. This is not good enough for Bob because of Bob's dog. For some reason, he thinks I am responsible for his dog having a fence, and this should constitute an emergency on my part. We go back and forth about the urgency of the matter, and he finally agrees to help me rebuild my fence, but I still have to pay for the materials. First, I demo the old fence by myself without any help from Bob. He conveniently disappears the first weekend we agree to start the project. He literally shows up as I am stacking the last of the old fence by the street for curbside pickup. We get bulky item pickup in my area twice a year, and I got lucky with the timing and could leave it neatly stacked by the street. Bob sees the stack of wood, and I can see the gears in his head turning. Bob takes a picture and advertises it on Craigslist. Then, without asking me, he starts moving it all to his yard. This guy spends 2 weeks trying to sell a pile of old fence pickets and misses a bulky item pickup day. Then he finally gives up and decides to drag it all back to the curb in front of my house. We had words about this, and it was a bit heated at times. My position on the issue was, you wanted the wood, now it is your problem, not mine. We went back and forth a while, and he begrudgingly stacked the wood right on the property line between our houses. The very next day, 2 Mexicans in a truck show up, decide they want the wood, and start loading it up on their truck. Bob sees this, runs out front, and starts yelling at them that it is his wood and it's not free. They throw the few pieces they had in the truck on the ground and drove off. Bob can't stand that someone would get something for free, and no matter how much I try to convince him to just let it go, he won't. So I prod him a little and tell him they will just come back when he is at work and take it anyway. My intent being for him to drag it all back into his yard. So what does Bob do? He gets a saw and cuts all the pickets in half and leaves a giant pile of cut pickets in his yard at the curb. Rather than let them take it for free, he ruins it for them. That pile of wood sat there for weeks before the city cited him and made him clean it up. More on that later. Back to the fence. While replacing the posts, Bob starts questioning where the real property line is. I am pretty good with where the old fence was, but he is convinced that the line is too far on his property and wants to move it towards my house. I checked the survey, and the original fence looked like it was built about 6 to 12 inches inside my property, and I suspect he wants to move it another foot over so it's easier for him to get his boat into his backyard, or maybe he is just being Bob and wants something more. The easier way in my mind to settle this is to find the pins and pull a line between them. Bob gets a crap-eating grin on his face and says that is a great idea, and alarm bells go off in my head. After a little work, I find the pins, and not only was the fence on his property, it was a foot on his property. This is not right. It's not matching the survey that came when I bought the house, and I'm sure I measured it right the first time. Out of self-defense, I hire a surveyor for $400 to come out and verify the property line. When the surveyor comes out, Bob blows a gasket and tries to refuse the guy to access his property and tries to harass the surveyor while he is doing the survey. None of this even fazed the surveyor. He acted like this happens all the time and maybe even paid closer attention given how hostile Bob was acting. It turns out, for good reason too, Bob had moved the pins. The fence was not 1 foot on my side, it was 2 feet on my side. Bob had moved the pins. His shed was a solid 1 foot on my property, and given the new lines, it did not look like he would be able to get his boat in and out of his own yard now. That new fence he was insisting I fix, he starts talking about how maybe we could just put it back where it was, and how he was willing to help, and how good fences make good neighbors. It was not enough that I pay for the repairs and do all the work, he wanted to screw me over the property line too. It's never enough for him. Over the next few weeks, I notified him of the shed encroaching on my property and made him move it. Then I built that fence right on the line and foolishly believe it was over. My insurance company sends me a letter about a claim on the damaged fence. He had filed a claim for the fence on his insurance. Then his insurance contacted mine to settle between the two. My fence, the fence I paid for and built, he is making a claim for. I told them the whole story and sent copies of the receipts. A couple of weeks later, I come home from work and all the old fence pickets are in my yard. Bob tells me since it's my fence, then the trash from the old one is mine too. I guess the insurance company denied his claim. During this time, Bob got a citation for the trash in his yard. When code enforcement came back out to inspect it, they knocked on my door and I told them the whole story. The guy was really nice and just walked back over to talk to Bob. I don't know what he said, but Bob hauled the wood off to the dump the next day. We don't talk about the fence anymore, and now his ugly boat is in the side yard where he parks his boat right on the property line. I paid for the fence and the survey, and while I picked up a little extra yard, it did not have to be that way, and all of this so Bob can have a fence for his dog. He is still pissed and will tell anyone who will listen how I stole a foot of his yard and how I made him move his fence. I paid for the fence both times, the survey, did all the work, and somehow stole part of his yard. Honestly, I would have been happy to put it back where it was if I did not have to look at his boat anymore, but he was being such a douche over it, I felt like letting him win would hurt more. You gotta love Bob, man. I imagine Bob being Mary Jane's dad from the original Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man. And I think that's just like the perfect representation of Bob's character, except less of a jerk, as her dad is a horrible person in that movie. But like, you know, a wife beater and like a bald head and like that New England accent. This story's called Karen Learns the Hard Way That Hot Coffee Becomes Cold When You Add Too Much Cream. Starring Karen as my psycho customer and me as the friendly barista. Act 1. Scene 1, Starbucks. Tuesday, 9 a.m., 2005. I'd like a tall dark roast, please. For those not in the know, that means a strong coffee. Sure thing, Karen. That's $2, please. What? Karen pays. I serve her the coffee. Karen goes to the cream station and puts cream in her coffee. Karen sips her coffee. Karen empties some of her drink into the trash to make room for more cream. Karen gets pissed off and returns to the cash register with a forced expression of anger on her face. My coffee is cold. Weird. I wonder if that has to do with all the cream you added. Edits, I get that this was a rude reply. She had, though, emptied nearly half her coffee and replaced that half with cold cream. I had thought I was being playful. How dare you speak to me that way? If your coffee hadn't been so strong, I never would have had to add so much cream in the first place. My apologies, Karen. How about I give you a cup of the lighter roast instead? Are you suggesting I can't handle my coffee? Not at all. I just think this flavor will be more to your liking. I'd be happy to offer you a small free sample so you can taste it first. No, just pour me another cup of the dark roast, but leave more room for cream. Sure thing, Karen. Karen exchanges her creamy disaster for a fresh cup of dark coffee with extra room for cream. Karen visits the cream station for a second time and adds some cream. Karen sips her coffee. Karen empties her drink into the garbage to make room for more cream. Karen returns to the cash register again. My coffee is cold again. When was this coffee brewed? I truthfully say 10 minutes ago. No wonder it's so cold. It's old coffee. Anyone in the coffee industry knows that 10-minute fresh coffee is still pretty hot. Are you sure you wouldn't like to try the other coffee? You won't have to add so much cream. If I had wanted the other coffee, I would have asked for it. Is it so hard to serve a coffee that doesn't get cold every time you add cream? What if I served you a drink that's half coffee and half steamed milk? It sounds like that would be right up your alley. I don't drink milk, I only drink cream. Can I do steamed cream? Yes, you can. Normally it costs hella dollars, but I'd be happy to give you one on the house this time. Wait, I normally have to pay hella dollars for a coffee with cream? Steamed cream. It costs extra for the steamed milk, and a little more extra for the steamed cream. That's outrageous. No sane person would pay that. All I want is a cup of strong coffee that stays warm when I add cream to it. Try again. A third coffee.
Yes.
Are you sure this won't be a waste of coffee?
I know how to drink coffee. If you hadn't screwed up the first 2 coffees, we wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have to tell you how to do your job.
I pour Karen a third coffee. While Karen is failing again at achieving her desired taste, I serve another customer who asks me 1 or 2 questions about a drink that she's never heard of but would like to try. I make this for the other customer, her desired experiment, and she is satisfied. She leaves happily. Karen slams her third failed coffee on the counter, miraculously avoiding a giant mess to clean.
Is that how long you take to serve all your customers?
What?
You spend 10 minutes making that girl's drink, but you can't even spend 1 second to get my drink right?
Actually, I spent less than 2 minutes with that other customer. Okay, let's wrap it up now. Karen tries the normally expensive half cream, half coffee drink.
Ah, too creamy!
She yells so that other customers are eavesdropping now. I suggest, one again, using cream instead of milk. Karen is furious and asks for a free expensive brownie to make up for the blood sugar I've caused her to expend. Starbucks, during 2005, could care less if it takes 10 tries to find the right drink, within reason, but free food is not gonna happen. My manager isn't even allowed to give away free food. I explain this to Karen and offer her a free drink voucher that we offer in case of customer emergencies. Karen presses for the free brownie, doesn't get it, and takes the free drink voucher, glaring at it like it's got germs on it.
It's a miracle you stay in business when you treat your customers like crap all the time.
Karen leaves. Karen paid $2 for what turned out to be 3 wasted coffees, a wasted Breve Misto, the expensive one, and a wasted carton of cream. She walked away with a free drink coupon and was angry about it. Epilogue. The next day, Karen didn't recognize me. I said hi, but she didn't have a clue who I was. I'm like 98% sure she wasn't acting. She asked for a tall, light roast coffee. She added a splash of cream and she said it tasted awesome. It became her regular drink. Wow, she knew that the barista was right. Wow. She just had such a stupidly inflated ego that she was too afraid to admit that someone else would be right over her. Holy cow. People these days, no, people in 2005, man, I swear. This story's called Choosing Beggar Nursey. For background info, I'm a hospital nurse, so 24/7, 365 type of job. In my particular position, I'm also cross-trained for multiple specialty departments, as well as being able to train new staff and be the head nurse on various units. I get paid more and can make my own schedule with some limits. The catch to all this is that I spend up to 75 hours a week on call, and when I'm called in, I get zero say in where I'll be or if I'm training someone or acting as the head nurse. Also, people always want nurses with my job to cover their request offs because their other coworkers won't. Because of a problem we had with this in the past, if I agree to work for someone else and not where I'm needed, I lose about $13 an hour. Plus, it doesn't count towards my hours for call pay and overtime. Nurse Beggar is aware of all these things, but I recently covered a weekend for a good friend because it was her parents' 50th wedding anniversary and they were having a huge party for it. Apparently, this sent Nurse Beggar's brain into overdrive.
Hey, I know you worked for Basti last weekend. If I give you some dates, could you cover them? I'd really appreciate it.
What dates? And what are you offering if I trade?
Why would I have to offer you anything? I can't work for you and it's extra money for you.
It's not though. I lose money covering for you.
No, you freaking don't. You get paid by the company and it's overtime, so time and a half.
No, if I work for you, I lose my premium pay, and that's $13 an hour, plus I can't claim call pay or overtime, which is up to double pay plus differentials. So really, if I work overtime to cover your shift, it costs me $250 to $400. Tell me the dates though, and maybe I can do one on the same deal everyone else gets.
Wait, you make a deal with everyone else?
Yeah, I'll cover their shifts, but I want $50 and they have to buy me dinner that night, usually a $7 sandwich combo.
You want me to pay you to take my shifts? That's benchy. I can't believe you won't help me. Oh, the dates are Valentine's Day, Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's Day,
and the weekend before.
Easter weekend, and Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, so all the days my own boss will pay me extra to work for her and I can make almost triple pay.
But you're single and I have a fiance and we have kids. You should be glad to work all those shifts for me so I can stay at home. That's $300 a shift before taxes.
No, it's a $350 loss. I can make $650 a shift. Also, you're ridiculous for implying that I'm so pathetic I have nothing to do on holidays except work.
But you're single. What are you gonna do? Single women don't have lives. Don't you just stay home with your cat? I want to spend time with my boo and my kids.
Yep, that's exactly what single women do. We just go home and lie in bed with our pets until we have work to bring meaning to our lives again. She thinks all single women are Angela from The Office. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.